Wonderful.
So thank you for everyone who signed up and signed in this morning for today's workshop on mindset and leadership. I'm so thrilled to have an old friend here, Danielle Amos, who we've known each other for many, many years. I think 15. Sounds so awful to say. But we're old good friends. Danielle's been involved with Terroir for many, many editions and has always been a true supporter of what we do. I welcome having her here in her own professional environment, which is around mindset and leadership. She's become a real innovator of her field and her craft. She has a lot of guidance and advice for people in terms of staying on track, but also how you actually can work and think more effectively and efficiently by just maintaining a positive mindset. And so, Danielle, I'm thrilled to have you here. Danielle is also involved in a few other sessions. She is a supporter of this program as well. But she's going to be tomorrow in an interview with Bula Halliday, which actually I'm really looking forward to because, again, they're old friends. And I think that that's going to be a really interesting conversation. And then for next week, for those who are joining in the second week, we've also got to meet your mentor, which is going to be like a little smaller version of what we're doing here. So again, I'm going to hand this over to Danielle, and I hope you enjoy your session.
Thank you, Arlene. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I absolutely have so much respect for Arlene and her work and all of you that work with Terroir and this event. Like Arlene said, I have been involved myself in the past, and I'm just a really great supporter, and I believe in this work and the industry. So thank you for having me. I'd love to hear who's in the audience. So this is an interactive session. I have put the workbook in the chat. I'll put it again here. It's in a Google Drive. You can download it. It was also emailed to you this morning. I'd love to hear from you. So if you'd like to turn your cameras on and engage, this works best when I can really just have an understanding of how this is landing. So if you are comfortable to turn on your cameras, I'll be able to see you. If you want to just spotlight me, hi, Renee. Nice to see you. If you want to spotlight just me, you could do that. If you're not familiar with Zoom, at the top right, you can have me spotlight so that you don't see everyone, but I will actually put my view in gallery so I can see you. We also have the chat active today. So on the bottom of Zoom, the chat is there. And if you could open that up and share with me what industry you're in, what do you do? And I'd also love to know if you have a team. Hi, Vula, I see your comment. Hello, lovely to see you. So as you're typing in the chat, so I have a good idea of who everyone is, I'd like to say welcome. My name is Danielle Amos, as Arlene shared. I work now in mindset. I'm a mindset coach, and I have been in this industry since 2015. My prior career was in food tourism and hospitality. So I absolutely love the industry, and I spent 20 years in hospitality. So I am coming to you with experience. I know where you've been, and I am grateful for this opportunity to help you develop a mindset that will really help you thrive in any environment. So today is about you. I invite you to be here for you, meaning put your oxygen mask on first. What I've learned that if we're not able to give ourselves a mindset treatment, if you will, take your mind to the gym, it's really challenging to help others, especially your team. So I invite you to be here. The next 2 hours can transform what you're up to. And I say that not lightly. I say that because I have worked with other managers, CEOs, leaders in the business. And this workshop that I'm about to give you has really transformed the way they think and the way they see their business, so that they're now in the field of possibility of what's possible for their business for the remainder of this year as well as next year. So I invite you to turn off all other of your tabs and turn over your phone. See this as time, like if you meditate or you go to the gym, this is really like the mind gym. And I'm going to share with you some tools that you'll be able to take in the workplace. So you'll be able to use them moving forward, and also will work through any obstacles or ways that might be just tripping you up, just results that maybe you're not enjoying so much. And we'll work through those today. So I just want to see who's in the room. Thank you for writing in the chat. We have Renee. Hello, Renee. We have Vula. Sarah, municipally operated DMO. Great. Manage a team of 10. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We have Marnie, consultant for tourism and events, Northern Ontario. Awesome. Welcome. Tracy, you own a resort. Welcome. Thank you. And Tracy, how many staff do you have, if you can give me an idea? And Sonia, project manager with experience in different industries, including tourism. Awesome. So keep sharing with me who you are and what you do, and I'll continue to gear this presentation so that it can really help you. So like I said, it's super important that you are here for yourself first, that you put your own oxygen mask on first, and then you'll be able to help others on your team. You can't give what you don't have, and that to make the most of this session to really engage, and if you have questions or if this is resonating, use your hearts and raise your hand, or just simply unmute yourself, and I'm happy to bring you on and work with you. We find that in this work, as I work with one individual, most likely many of you will have similar questions or challenges, or relate to the question, and you'll learn from that coaching. So today is mindset. This is maybe outside of the box a little bit for some of you. So I invite you to stay open as well. There's a lot of science and research that backs what I do and the process that I'm taking you through. I also like to share that it's not mine. So I am coached by a gentleman named Bob Proctor, who some of you might know him from the movie The Secret. He's known for understanding the universal laws, and specifically law of attraction. And he was featured in that movie, The Secret. So that's where he's known. But here's the interesting thing. He's Canadian. He's also 87 years old, and he's been studying the mind for 60 years. So he is the thought leader of this industry in the world, really, because he's been alive the longest, to be quite honest, and he hasn't stopped studying this. He studies apps every single day, this material, and he works with some of the top professionals, athletes, movie stars, entrepreneurs, and business owners. And I share that, and across all industries as well. He's heavily known in the real estate industry, also insurance. And so he's been able to take this material, which in some circles might be very woo-woo, like very fluffy and meditation and visualization, but he's been able to take this information to the boardrooms. And he transformed a company called Prudential in insurance by 670% in just a few months, their bottom line. So I share that because this, like I said in the beginning, this workshop has the capacity to completely change what you're doing in a good way. Just open your mind, and we'll follow it. It does require you to think. So I want to share a quote with you from George Bernard Shaw. He says, 2% of people think. 2% of people think. 3% think they think. And 95% would rather die than think. Right. Let's say it again. 2% of people think, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. What does that even mean? Well, thinking, real thinking, is actually hard work. We are habitual beings. 95% of our activity, 95 to 97% of our day is habitual. The way we think, the way we operate. Think about when you wake up in the morning, and I can tell you my husband's routine, like to the letter, because we do the same thing, don't we? We wake up, we get up, there's not a whole lot of thinking involved. Like we pick out our clothes, but we're not actually really thinking. And today's workshop is, I'm going to ask you to think, like really think about your business and your purpose and what you're up to, the impact that you are here to make in your field, and what that would really look like and feel like. And it's this deep thinking, not the surface level thinking like what you're going to have for lunch. It's this deep thinking that actually makes a massive difference in our lives. And Wallace D. Wattles, who wrote the book Science of Getting Rich, he said that it's the hardest work in the world. Like, I think some work's pretty hard. Like, there's a house across the street here who they're getting a new roof. Like, those roofers look like they're working pretty hard. Wallace D. Wattles says the deep thinking is the hardest work in the world, and and most of us avoid it. And I think that a lot of us are afraid of what's like in the subconscious mind. Like, we're just unconscious about what it is, and we think we have to dig it up. That's not what we're doing here today. I just want you to really think about potential and what is potential. My mentor, Bob Proctor, says that if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. This is a big idea. Thoughts become things. Your thoughts transmute into physical reality. So I want you to think about this. Think of your favorite restaurant. That restaurant was an idea in someone's mind first. Just like the iPhone, Steve Jobs this was an invention first in his mind. He had to see it in his mind first. The chair I'm sitting on was a design in someone's mind first. Everything is created twice. First in the imagination of a human, and then in the physical world. Does that resonate? So in order for you to reach the success that you are truly capable of, it's super important that you build the image of it in your mind. I didn't realize that this is what I was doing when I created Savor Stratford, the food festival, so many years ago. I was an unconscious competent. I wasn't in this work. And I saw that festival with thousands of people in my mind first. Like, literally the layout just popped out in my mind. So we've all engaged these tools, most likely sometime in the past when you've created something new. Like, I see Vula on the screen. I'm sure you did this when you're creating your book. You most likely would start to just formulate in your mind the pages. So we've all done this, but most likely you haven't done this consciously. Most people that have found success in their past are what we call unconscious competence. Unconscious competence means that they're not able to teach this winning formula to others. They're just not conscious. They're doing it unconsciously. And so the success stops with them. Does that resonate? They're not able to teach it to their team. They're just not sure the steps. So as I share with you some of these tools today, and you embrace them for yourself, you might be like, aha, yes, I've done that. I actually use visualization, for example, or I do write out my goals in this way. Once you become consciously aware of the steps or the system, then you can teach it to others. You can share it with your team. And this is how we create exponential growth in businesses, just like yours. How does that sound? So I invite you to grab your workbook, Leadership and Mastering a Success Mindset. You don't need to have it printed. If you have a workbook in front of you or a notebook in front of you, you can simply write and begin to answer the questions in the workbook. This is just really to have you go a little deeper so that we can get you thinking. So the workbook is again in the chat. I'll put it one more time here so you can download it. Everyone have it? And we'll actually walk you through it. So like I said, this work is it's not my principles. I've been mentored. I didn't think this way always. I had been an unconscious competent, but I didn't understand this. And so I needed to learn to think this way. And And once I did, and I was able to apply it, my results significantly shifted to the point where I tripled my income in my business in just 6 months. And we continue to do that every 6 months or so. And this is growth that if you went to a bank and said, I'm going to have 300% growth in my business in the next 6 months, they'll probably laugh. And we've seen it happen that and beyond across all industries. So it might sound too good to be true. That's okay. I want you to stay open, because the truth is the only limits that your mind has is the limit that you place on it. So your business or your team, if you are a manager or owner, it will grow. It can only grow as far as you can see it. So if you're the leader of your team or your department, or maybe you have your own business, your business will only grow as far as you can see. And all of our research shows this. So as leaders, we stop the growth, and we might not even understand and know and realize that we're doing it. To grow, it's super important that you take off the limits and have the courage to dream as big as possible, to really create a vision in your mind, a picture in your mind of how, like of exactly what you want. Like it's almost like if I had a magic wand, a business magic wand, what do I want? Not based on precedent, like not based on past, like what you've experienced in the industry before, not based on what others think that you can do, but really dive into the fantasy of it all and have the courage to dream, because that's what it is. It's a courage, and not care what anyone else thinks out here. And that's really what it's going to take. So I'm going to walk you through some steps, and so that we can move through. And then I'm actually going to work with you on an area of your business or your life, this works for any area, where you'd like to transform today. We're transforming to show you how to stay in control no matter the outside circumstance. This is huge for right now, so that you can always be in possibility. So a little bit of a history where this information comes from. Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Has anyone read that book? You can share it in the chat if you've read that book. Think and Grow Rich was written quite a long time ago. And Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie to write the book, because he realized that him and a few of his friends, like Henry Ford, had all of this knowledge around success and what makes a person successful. And he wanted it captured in a book, because if not, it would be lost in time. And Andrew Carnegie was the world's first millionaire. And so he commissioned Napoleon Hill to write the book. Napoleon Hill then mentored Earl Nightingale, who was the founder of really the personal development and professional development industry in the 70s. And he had a radio show. And then he mentored my mentor, Bob Proctor, directly. And so what's really cool about this information, it's been passed down like a lineage. And I'm so happy and grateful to work directly with Bob each week as one of his top consultants around the world. And I share that with you, not to impress you, but instead to impress upon you what the work of the mind can do, because there really are no limits. When I got into this, I didn't know who Bob Proctor was. I wasn't even really familiar with the book or this information. I come from food tourism. And so for me to write a goal that I wanted to be Bob Proctor's protege in 2015 sounded pretty crazy to most people on the outside world. But I knew how this worked, and I trusted my mentor, and I was open to following the directions. So I'm going to take you through that today. See, Darcy, you've read it many times. I love it. It's great. Vula, bring it out again. And I'll show you, actually, if you haven't read it, this is the original copy. It's black, and you can get it from bookstores. It normally has a cover on the top, but you want the original edition. There are many editions, and it makes a difference, because the editions after that copy have been changed and some key components have been taken out of it. So like I said, this information comes, it's a lineage. I have a few quotes that I like to share. Andrew Carnegie, he said, it's called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich, yeah, it's this black version, and it's the original edition, and it's a hardcover, and it's easy to find in a local bookstore, and usually it has like a pink paper over top of it, or a colored piece of paper, and it will say original edition. And there are many, and like I said, this one, it's interesting because the rumor is that Henry Ford recommended that the word vibration be taken out of the later editions, and so it was. And that's a key component in understanding how the mind works. So I highly recommend the original. So let's look at Andrew Carnegie. He said, any idea that is held in the mind, any idea that's held in the mind that's emphasized, that is either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. So this quote that I'm sharing with you is Andrew Carnegie is basically saying that anything that you're excited about and you get emotionally involved with in the mind will start to show up in your world. He also says if you fear it, it can show up. Well, that's what worry is. Anyone worry? It's just me. So I had a chronic habit of worrying, and worrying is literally praying for what you don't want. Worry, science shows that most worries never happen. Although think of how much time and space worry takes up in the mind. So worry, when we get emotionally involved with something, worrying is literally attracting those circumstances to you. So if you worry about what's going on out there, or you worry about staffing, or worry about money, you're bringing experiences that are similar to that worry to you. And eventually it moves into form, it moves into the physical form. Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So this goes back to like your goal and what you want, whatever it is that you want, as long as you believe it, you can have it. It's for you. That's a pretty big idea. In a universe where anything's possible, the question then becomes, what do you want? Earl Nightingale said, very simply, you become what you think about. You are becoming what you think about all day long. And then my mentor, his quote is, thoughts become things. You can see it in your mind. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So very simply, if you can see it, you can have it. So the question then for us as leaders is really, what have I been thinking? What have you been thinking about? And just to realize, notice what you've been thinking. Not from a place of like judgment or right or wrong, just notice where your mind's been. These have been a couple very interesting years. And I'm using the word interesting on purpose. Interesting years. So this, because of the circumstances, a lot of people in the world are reacting, and our minds can be in a place where we don't want to be attracting what we're thinking. We could be in lack, limitation, worry, doubt, fear. And so the best way to find out how you've been thinking is to look at your present results. Your present results always show where your thoughts have been. So we're going to reverse engineer this one a little bit. I'm going to say that again. Your present results are nothing more than a reflection of your thoughts and actions. And now, when I first heard this, I have to admit, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't know what's been going on in my life. It can't be that simple. And I admit I was a really good victim to my circumstances. And I always had a reason why my results were the way they were. And that reason or that excuse had me not take responsibility, not fully. The moment I took responsibility for my results and stopped blaming my husband or the economy or whatever else, like if friends weren't supporting, whatever it was that came to mind at the time, the moment I was able to take responsibility, I took 100% of my control. And I started to understand that if thoughts become things, like if this is true, which it is, if this is true, if really thoughts become things and my results are a reflection of my thinking and action, wow. The world really at that point becomes my oyster, because I no longer am a plaything for the outside world. Now I'm in control. And so I invite you to be open to this process. And one of the first questions to answer is on page 3 of your workbook. There's a quote by James Allen. James Allen wrote, "As a man thinketh." He says, "We think in secret, but it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass." And what he says there is that literally, if you look at your results, we might think we think in secret, but it shows up in our results. We can see our results by looking at your environment and what you've created for yourself. So this on page 3, and you can look at all areas. Today, you might be here for your business, so you can focus and have a lens on your business, but take a look at your business and just write down what the current results are and try to be as objective as possible. What I mean by that is, let's say you were a scientist and we're like, okay, let's take a look, or a consultant. Let's take a look at where your business is, or your career, or it could be a relationship. Let's just take a look and take inventory, take stock. So you can start and write down a few results. And I love personally to use numbers, to look at numbers. So why, like if you have targets, maybe sales targets or targets for your team, being very specific is helpful. And you'll notice in your worksheet, I ask you to refrain from giving reasons or excuses, because those will be the first that come to mind. So let's just look at the results instead. But from an objective point of view, nothing's right or wrong, good or bad. It just is. And as we take inventory of what is right there, and you start to think, okay, this is just past thinking and action. So in order to change tomorrow's results, next week's results, I change my thinking. When do I change my thinking? Now, today. And this is where this seminar can have so much impact. We literally draw a line in the sand in the way we think. So I'll give you a moment to do that. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or unmute and I'll work through it with you. And as you're moving through what currently is, and it just is, nothing is good or bad, it just is, notice. I have to admit, when I did this, I was like a little bit of a gulp in my stomach, because I really noticed that I had been in lack and limitation and fear and doubt. And that's okay. We don't know until we know. And that's why the inventory is so important. And then we can make a decision to change the way we think, and then notice how it changes in our reality. And until then, nothing can change, because we just don't know. So it's just a lack of awareness. So just stay open. The next part of your worksheet there as to write about a part of your business or a part of your life that you'd like to improve. So as you're writing about your current results, there might be a part that specifically, whatever comes to mind for you, an area of your life that maybe isn't working as well as you'd like it to, or an area of your business. And just jot about it now. Write about how it is as well. And this is where you can be brutally honest. This is for you. You're putting your oxygen mask on for you, for yourself, for no one else. So no one else needs to see this. This is just for you. So be as detailed as possible, meaning like this is where you can, if there are any reasons or excuses that come to mind or blaming, then you can put them down and just get it all out. And I'm going to show you how to actually transform that area of your business today or your life. Good. And just remember to stay, a reminder to stay objective. So if any feelings come up around it, good, bad, or otherwise, just remind yourself that you're just looking at the situation as if a scientist would. So not like from a bird's eye view, rather than being really associated in it. That will just disconnect your emotion, just is, and that will help you perceive the situation from a different lens. Does anyone have any questions, or would you like to share? Do you feel inspired to share what you're noticing as you take stock, as you take inventory?
I'm going to share because I'm welcoming any tips.
Thank you, Bula.
So one of the things, like the way that I earn my living is by creating, and that is I'm a very enthusiastic creator. I'm a passionate creator. I love making things. So, if you imagine my world, my happy place is me puttering all day long in a state of making stuff. As a result, I am distracted because those of you out there who know me, I make different things. I offer different things from my creative space. I'm really hard on myself right now because I'm very hungry to do many things. I can see it. I'm a great visualizer. I can see it. I can even get my teeth on it, but I fucking for the life of me cannot manage my schedule as well as I should, could, want to, whatever words you want to use there, it doesn't matter to me. But I get so distracted with my creative energy and in that state of creation that I'm losing my opportunity to put forward my products for the best success in my business.
Got it.
I'm going on mute now.
Yeah, thank you for your honesty and your willingness to share, Bula. That is a common problem that people communicate, especially creatives, because your happy place is in that place of doing, and you'd rather be there than all the other stuff. So you caught your language when you said should. So should brings back shame, which is where the hard on yourself comes from, which is also, who else has been hard on yourself? Give Vula some love. She's not the only one that's hard on themselves. This is a really strong programming that we receive as humans, and especially if we are go-getters, we become quite hard on ourselves. And so the willingness to change your perception on your situation, Vula, and think outside the box as far as coming up for solutions for all the things you should do can transform your business. So I'll help you with that today in one of the later exercises. So I'm just going to make a note and we'll come back to that and I'll work through it. So what I'd like you to notice just now, and this is super important, Vula, for you to stay objective so that you're not hard on yourself. You're noticing how it is. And here's the truth. We know in our gut, what we're doing in our habitual ways, right? We know it. So what you're doing is you're just realizing it on paper in a way so that we can transform it for you later on. So when you take stock of your results here, just notice the impact of that way of being, the habitual way, but I don't want you to see it as all up all wrong or that you're bad. It's just that we need to fit in you may need to partner with other people. You may need to give yourself some structure in a way that habitually you're not doing right now. but that's okay. Remember how I said the unconscious mind is in control 96 to 97% of the time? So your habitual way is to be in the creation mode and to not do the other things that would move your business forward. And the truth is, Vula, do you know what some of those things are that you should be doing?
Sure.
Yeah, right. So the next question we have,
And what I shouldn't be doing, like, cooking elaborate dinners every night with my husband and puttering around the kitchen with a glass of wine in my hand.
I love it. So there's things that you know you should be doing, and there's things that you know that you should not be doing. That's what I'm hearing. Great. That's called the knowing doing gap. And that's actually part of the exercise. So once you highlight it, then we can come up with solutions on how you can stop or start. And it may not all be you. It may be you partnering with other people, which is the really good news. And some of them you will need to take responsibility for. So it's all good there, but you won't until you admit it. It will continue to happen because there's no other way. So this is what I wanted everyone to understand, is that the way you habitually show up, your unconscious mind is running the show 96 to 97% of the time. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is your programming, your paradigm, we call it. And each one of us has a program, just like my phone has a program. We were all given a program, and the programming was given to us mainly as children, actually. So you'll see, if you look back at how you were brought up, you'll see patterns, and you're going to see patterns in your life. But there's no other way, Vula, that you can operate unless you're in your conscious mind, which most people are in their conscious mind only 2 to 4%. So you want to give yourself a break, because the unconscious mind's running the show. And instead, we got to show you how to go to the root cause of the behavior, which is the unconscious mind, and make the change there. We don't change it in action. And this is what a lot of people do. They'll go out and they'll say, okay, well, I know I shouldn't have that glass of wine. And so they try and stop it. And they might be good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, fine. Thursday, a friend brings over a beautiful bottle of Pinot, and we're like, ah. And your husband might be like, well, Vula, you said you weren't going to drink until Friday. I know. And it keeps, that's right. It's pattern. I know it's there. And there's nothing wrong. It's just like, we can't operate any other way, because that's the way, the paradigm. So I want you to go easy on yourself until we change the root cause. There's not a behavior, which is the unconscious mind. The changing it in action doesn't work. It's not sustainable. It's force, and it doesn't feel good. And this is why, by the way, New Year's resolutions don't work, because we go to the action. We don't go to the root causes to why someone does the behavior. So we're going to work through this with you, Vula. Does anyone have any questions? Can you see that is a really common piece? So Vula, I also, when you're taking stock there, to be specific, like find the impact to this on your business. So just like, where is your revenue at? And this is just the numbers, just help you put some context to the impact of the behavior. So your current results are just a reflection of your thinking and your behavior. That's it. So if the more detailed you can be in that section, the better. And that will help us moving forward. Does that help, Vula, for right now? And then we'll actually turn.
Yes, it does. I think it's got me really thinking, like, that there's there's the no, and then there's the, yeah, let me just stop right there.
Yeah. That's great. And if, for those of you that, if you haven't flipped ahead yet, that's part of page 6. It's called Close the Gap. The knowing doing gap, it's actually called, Vula. So you know what to do, and we're going to close that gap for you today. Awesome. So great. Anyone else have any questions or would like to share? Okay, so the next part of this, and again, thank you, Vula, for sharing that and being brave. The important piece to understand when you look at your current results is that most likely, most of us have been in lack and limitation. And this is simply because of the way we've been programmed. Society, we're taught to look for what's wrong, not what's right. And we're taught to look for what's not there. And so we we've been programmed to think about what we don't want to happen versus being in the other bucket, which is possibility and opportunity. And so we're either in lack or in limitation, or abundance and prosperity, opportunity. And we can't be thinking both at the same time. Think about that. You can't think negative thoughts and positive thoughts at the same time. It's just not possible. And so your current results will just show you what your mind's been like. And that's it. And like James Allen said, we think in secret, but it comes to pass environments but our looking glass. Now I ask you, are your current results what you want? Or do you want them to be different? Most people that I work with want their results to be different. And that's actually a healthy thing. Desire and wanting to do better and be more and have more is a natural way. It's the universe actually expanding through us. Our desires are for us to grow. And so the next piece of this is to really, first of all, I'm going to ask you to take responsibility. So if we can see, okay, so, it's not because of my circumstances, it's because of my thinking. And in fact, all my past successes have been because of my thinking as well. And all my past failures or things that I'm not doing as well as I know I could do, it's just a result of my thinking. So if we're open to this, we can actually be empowered and we can change the results. And so this is my invitation now to say, okay, so I'm drawing a line in the sand and I'm going to really think, I'm going to understand this, and I'm going to apply it to my business. And the truth is that success is the result of 95% of your mindset and only 5% strategy. So this is really interesting that the research at the Proctor Gallagher Institute, we show that success, it doesn't matter what strategy a person uses in their business. It's only 5% what you do. It's actually how you think about what you're doing. So Vula, if you thought that you were doing enough, or if you could change your belief in around those dinners that you do with your husband and your friends, if you could change your belief and see how they contribute to your business and just change your perception, they will actually move you forward. But at the moment, you're seeing them as something you shouldn't be doing, or that you're being frivolous perhaps, or wasting time when you should be doing something else. But there's a way that you can transform your perception of those dinners so that you believe that they move you forward. And this is the power of belief. We always get what we believe. I'm going to say that again. You always get what you believe. So if you believe it's a waste of time, it will be such a thing. It will be a waste of time. If you believe it's difficult, it's difficult. Henry Ford said, if you believe you can, you will. It's that simple. Your unconscious mind has to prove you right. Isn't that interesting? So that the unconscious mind starts to literally start attracting to you situations that will have Vula continue to feel bad about how she's doing. The friend will bring over the wine on the Thursday. And what you start to understand is that because the unconscious mind's in control, and that's the vibration that we put out, it sounds funny, but she's attracting those situations to her so that she can continue to beat herself up. There can be no other way until we go to the root cause. Isn't that fascinating? It starts to blow your mind as you start to see, and you might say, oh gosh, that's coincidence. No way, la, la, la. Okay, just start to notice. Just start to notice and be conscious in your life what you start to attract and experience, and notice the patterns. We are habitual beings, and we're habitual because it's how the unconscious mind makes us efficient, because conscious thinking is a lot of work.
What if I changed it? And so, since I love cooking a beautiful dinner, and I love, I go to the farmer's market and I play around with recipes. That's one of my passions. Maybe I could take that time, in the evening to do a little video clip of what I'm cooking, or take some extra photographs, like shift the focus a little bit from I love doing this, so I'm doing it, you know, who cares what the consequences are, to I love doing this because it enriches my work, which is true. I'm a recipe developer, so everything I make becomes something eventually that I can put to use to share with others and teach others. And if I start to slow down, like what's happening, to embrace what it could be, then I probably would stop. You know, it just means saying to Ian, we're gonna have dinner later, or it means starting dinner at 3 p.m. and so that I can play around and use that creative time in a way that will go back into my business. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's exactly my point. So if you change your perception, and this is using your mental faculty, so perception is a mental muscle. So you'll start to use your muscle. And to everyone listening, it might sound so simple or obvious, but here's the thing: we don't stop and think. We just keep beating ourselves up and keep getting the same results. That's the definition of insanity, by the way. Doing the same thing and but here's the thing: what Vula did is she stopped, and now she's thinking. This is the 2% of people think right now. Vula's thinking, how can I transform this? How can I perceive the situation differently? Because I love making dinners with my husband, and how can I leverage it for my business? It sounds so simple, and it's very effective. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. So Vula, what you want to do is write out that, like, how can I leverage these evenings with my husband? And at the same time, so you get to have it all. Okay. So the mind might have you first be like, well, that means that it becomes work, and then it's not as fun. And then I have to post on social media, and your mind, like, remember, the paradigm will take control 96% of the time. So you have to really be consciously thinking and notice what you're writing. That's a habit, because it might bring you back like, well, I don't want to do that because I don't work. So then this is the statement that always helps. It's like, does it really, like, is that 100% true? Like, do you have to post that evening? Or could you be taking some photos, enjoying your dinner with Ian, and then putting the photos in a bucket and posting them the next day? You know, excuse me. So just be cautious if there are things where your mind tells you that it has to look, that takes away from the enjoyment of the evening. And just say, is that really true? Do I have to do it that way? What if I did it this way? And just keep, like, it's almost like, you know, you're looking or taking a different perception, like literally moving the situation around to get a different point of view. Like, what if I did it that way? What if, you know? And look at all the ways that you can do it. Now that you've come up with this idea, then it's actually doing it. So remember how the mind will have you want to continue to do the dinner like you always have done. So it's just like understanding that. And it's almost like a little fight in the mind. You're like, go out to get your camera. And then, like, Ian will echo your paradigm, by the way, because he's in harmony with the way things are. So he might be like, oh, do you have to really bring out your camera? This is a romantic dinner. And you're like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking that, like, oh, my camera. You know, so it's really important to communicate and to stand, like, to be this new version of you that you're not habitually doing, even though the mind chatter. Anyone else have that voice in their head that goes, oh my gosh, I shouldn't bring out the camera, or who do you think you are, la 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 la? That voice is literally the paradigm, your program, your habitual way of being, Bula. It's telling you, it's like giving voice to those thoughts, and it's designed to hold you back. It's designed to keep you stuck. It's designed to keep you doing what you always do. It's a con artist, and you don't listen. Don't listen to that voice. And so then it becomes important to then communicate to Ian about what your intentions are, obviously, right? So and there may be growth in that. There may be growth for you in the way that you do the dinners, like starting at 3 and organizing your schedule and your day. The purpose of a goal, by the way, is to grow. So if we're not growing, the goal won't happen. The purpose of a goal is to grow. It's not to get, it's the money, the fame, the awards, all of those things are awesome, but it's not the real purpose. The purpose is growth. We set goals to grow. And so then these opportunities or obstacles will come up for you, Vula, just so that you can act in a different way and grow in a new way that you haven't done. Does that resonate? Yeah, that's great. So our next part of this, it's really good. It's a great example. Can everyone relate to Vula's example? Do you have a similar thing? So just keep putting the oxygen mask on for yourself as we work through this. And if you are inspired to share, I'm happy to work through it, because as you can see from Vula's share, it helps. It's helping her, and then it's helping all of you. So for her, for us, and then the world. Great. Sheena says yes. Awesome. So your next page in your book is your desired results. So now we know what is, like where you currently are in your thinking. And the next part is to create a vision and a goal for where you want to go. And so where you are and where you want to go, and there's a gap there. And so I'll share with you a little bit about goal setting in a way maybe that you haven't heard before. There are two things that you need to know to create success. And it's what I just shared, where you are and where you need to go. What's interesting is most people only focus on the goal. Most coaches and people out there, they'll focus only on the goal. And what we found at the Proctor Gallagher Institute is, okay, if 95% of the population have a goal and only 3 to 5% are reaching their goals, really, why isn't just the goal enough? Well, we have to understand where we are and where we're going, because it's where we are, like I was just talking to Vula, that's getting our current thinking that needs to transform in order to reach the goal. So we to make the transformation in the way you are thinking, we literally transform from the inside out. If you want to change your outside conditions and circumstances, you need to learn to think a different way. And so your thinking right where you are right now is not the same thinking and behavior that will get you your goal. Does everyone understand that? If it was, you'd already have the goal. You'd already be living the life. So it's really important to understand that the thinking and where you are in right now is not the same thinking that will get you here. And this is where we can see massive growth in results, like 100%, 200%, 300% growth, because it's just a change in thinking. And so when we understand what the thinking process is from the goal achieved, we can go there and start thinking that way. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to use a money example because it's easy for me to show the difference. So let's say an income where I'm going to describe myself. So myself earning $50,000 a year, I had certain habits and I loved certain things that I had and ways I was being there. So know that there's nothing wrong. It's just that we want more. So we've got to understand the patterns. So at 50,000, I loved my Toyota Yaris. I was shopping in stores and sometimes like looking on sales. We were doing local food, but it would be like very limited in what we were purchasing. We would go on vacation. We'd rent a cottage locally. We didn't do a whole lot of like flights, that kind of thing. It was like very focused on making the ends meet. And we were very money conscious. And then if, let's say the goal is to 10x the income. So I'm just going to use an easy add a zero. So 500,000 a year, the thinking process is very different. Now we are going on flights for vacation. I'm ordering at restaurants, looking at the left-hand side of the menu, not the right-hand side of the menu. I'm ordering what I want. I'm definitely not worried. I'm importing goods that I want. I'm, doing whatever I want. The thinking is very different up here. And so we just want to identify what it is. And this is our next step. What is the difference in your business or your role or your personal life from where you are to where you want to go? And we operate on 3 levels. You may have noticed how I shared. So we have our thinking process. So what we think about our current situation, what we think about money, what we think about staff, what we think about our role. And then we have our feeling, how we feel about it. So down at 50,000, I was always worried about money. 500,000, I'm confident and comfortable about money. So the feeling is super important. And then the next piece is the action. So what I have, what I'm doing. So it's be, do, have. And you want to understand all 3 levels from where you are to where you want to go. And in order to determine that, let's look at your next page, which is page 4. This is your desired results. So with your desired results now, remember I've got a magic wand. What is it that you truly want? So Vula, you can start describing like what you want your day to look like. If in the universe, like anything's possible, like, would you like to be creating all day and making? You get to say it. See, here's the thing. You get to have it all and you get to write it out and build the vision. And the mind might go, well, there's no, like, no, I'm supposed to do X, Y, Z, and I should do this, this, and this. But I want you to say like what you really love, because there is a way for you to be living the life and doing the things you really love. Now, yes, there's some things that we learn to do as entrepreneurs or leaders that we don't always love. And a leader learns how to do them anyway, because they're desired for the outcome. And what I found it is, if you can really like be honest with the things you love, there's a way to be doing more of it and doing less of what you don't love, even in any business. Like it might not seem practical. So when you're writing out what you want and what you want your day to look like on page 4, I want to inspire you to move into a C-type goal. So what that looks like is something that you have no idea how it's possible. This is like a fantasy. Like I've got a magic wand and it's something that you really, really want. And the universe said anything's possible. It's like tap into your imagination. There are 3 types of ways you can create goals. An A-type goal is a goal that you have done before. So an A-type goal is something that you've done, you already know how to do it. So I want you to skip writing anything about that. That's more like a to-do list item. A B-type goal is something that you think you can do. So this means like if this happens and this happens and this happens, it's like a logical goal. This is where most of us will start. We'll write about what we think we can do on a logical level. And what happens when we hit a stumbling block, we drop or lower the goal. So a B-type goal is not a good goal. So I want you to even go past something that is logical. This is an illogical goal, a C-type goal, a fantasy goal. And questions in your workbook say, what do I really want? What do I want my business or my role or my career? Or if you're my personal life, you could do this for my love life even. What do I want? What do I really love to do? If I had a business magic wand and anything's possible, what is it? And use time as you write. So 6 months from now, and then 12 months or 2 years time. Sometimes because we don't think that we can have exponential growth in a couple months, it's better to like extend the time just to give yourself permission to dream. Each one of us are here with a purpose, and we are here to make an impact and in the world. And it's super important to create a goal that's big enough or worthy enough of your life, because you are literally trading your life for your goals. Now, the masses out there, people are trading their life for Netflix. It's not a problem. I have a feeling that you're up to more. and that's why you're here. So ask, is this goal worthy of me? Write that now. Well, as you're tapping into your imagination, understanding that imagination is a mental muscle. It is like a muscle in your body. The muscles are sometimes weak for lack of use. So if you, just like if we don't go to the gym for a while and then we go back and we try to lift weights, we have to start small. So notice your imagination may be weak. As children, we have a strong imagination, and then as we grow older, we are told to become more realistic, and we experience life as that. So we stop using it. We continue to just work it out, and as you work it out and you use it, it becomes stronger. There's a great quote by Einstein. He says that logic will get you from A to Z. Imagination will get you everywhere. As you're writing, notice if the mind wants to say, but how? How am I going to do this? That's normal. I have good news for you. The how is not up to you. It's common for us as humans to start to dream. I remember when I wrote down that I wanted to be Bob's protege on a piece of paper, I was at a seminar like this, and I wrote it in the corner of my paper and then like folded it over so no one could see, because it seemed so crazy. So allow yourself to write things that you wouldn't share with most people, because they might say, like my mind was like, who do you think you are? Like, you know, you are not in this industry. You don't even know Bob. How can you become his protege? Fast forward 5 years, not even 5 years later. Again, I don't share that to impress you, but to impress upon you of what happens in the mind, what can happen. So don't think about the how. Do not be logical. It doesn't matter what others think or what you think they think, because the truth is you don't know what they think. Doesn't matter if you think you can do it. It's just, do you want it? What do you want? Good. How are you guys doing with that? Anyone want to share? Doesn't this feel good to get into the possibility? Yeah, good. As you're writing, you can also add feeling words. So Neville Goddard talks about how feeling is the secret. So one of the most important things is you start to describe what it is that you want. You can think of then who you're being. So remember, be, do, have. So who you're being, what are the thought processes as you have this goal? How are you thinking? How are you thinking about your business? Just notice how it's different from now. And then you can add feeling. And when you add feeling to your description, what you're doing is you're moving the idea from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, and you're becoming emotionally involved with it. Our science shows that unless and until a person becomes emotionally involved with their goal, it will never happen. It's just a really good idea. And we've all experienced where people are talkers, like they talk about it, but they don't actually get emotionally involved with that idea. And so nothing seems to move forward. They don't allow themselves to really feel into it. So you want to do that. The truth is you have infinite potential. And like I was saying at the beginning, your mind, your business can only grow as far as you can see. And so this step is the most important step. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. There is a quote by Albert Einstein. He says, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. And what he means by that is where you are right now, that's getting you your current results. And then this statement that you're writing about, this goal, this image for your life, they operate and you're feeling differently at the levels. And so what's important is to understand how you think, feel, and act when the goal is achieved, and then view life from that lens. So in your mind, you'll start to think about, when this is my reality that I'm writing about, how would I think? So Vula, if you would work with me again, would you feel comfortable with that? Put you on the spot.
I'll go as far as I can with my comfort. I'll be honest. That's all. That's the best I can do.
That's awesome. So with your goal, and you don't even have to share what it is, can you see, like, when you are living the life with your goal achieved that you've written on your paper, and at that level, you'll have different thoughts, feelings, and actions. So let's take the scenario of having dinner with your husband and writing like that. When your life is, and you've achieved the goal, in your mind, does it change how you perceive those dinners?
Yeah, more than anything, what I feel is that I have to, so I kind of divide it up in like my day, my week, my months, my years, right? Because for me at the core, it's about like turning my creative work into my business. Like, so that's what, like, again, making that connection from I create and I sell what I create. So to be honest, my husband doesn't play into it at all anymore.
Right.
So, because he's not in there, right? He's like, my productivity or my creativity is what I build my business model from. And there's no Ian in that. So what I'm exploring now is that business goes here and Ian goes there. So then where I get through, when I think about my day, my week, my months, and my years, and Ian, we're using Ian as sort of like the symbol of my social energy, and that, it's spending time making things at home with other people can get in the way of focusing on work. But now, as I'm sort of mapping my way through that, what I'm recognizing is that my life has to come down to two things. I want to make shit all the time. I want to sell that. And I want to have heaps of fun with my friends and family, celebrating like from my place of creativity.
Awesome.
So that's my magic world.
Yeah.
And I guess where the sort of, having courage and finding the way is going to come from me actually learning how to manage my time better.
Yeah. And so if you are in the world of that with the goal achieved, and then you're thinking about, like, it feels like it's almost like you've got that handled, like the way that you manage your time, like in your goal achieved, in the way that you're thinking about your days, you've just, like, it all works in that spot. So if you go there in your mind of just the best you can in your imagination, and here's the thing, we're using our imagination because none of us have done this before. Like, we haven't achieved this goal, so we're making it up, right? You're using your imagination, so you don't really know how it will be. And this is the power of the mind. This is what we've got to be willing to do, is to go there in our imagination so that we can see it and we can create it. So just like in your mind, you with the goal achieved is, let's say now a friend comes over on the Thursday night with a bottle of wine. In your mind's eye, like, what do you see happening? And
what
there
I'd
may be
like to see
Sure.
happening
Yeah.
would be that like my website is running awesomely without me. My digital platform is amazing. It's super strong. My friend is here. It's part of the reason why I'm awesome at creating, because I get great energy and inspiration from my friends. And it's like, I'm having a great time. And guess what? While you're here and we're having dinner and enjoying this beautiful wine, let me show you the new thing that I'm working on.
I
So
love it.
that's magic to me.
Yeah.
Right there. I don't want to close the door. What I want is the freedom to keep, like, the stuff that inspires me. I want the freedom to keep that in my life and not have it distract me. Is that like kind of answering your question?
That's great, because what you're doing is you're saying I have it all. Like I get to have the thriving business and the fun with my friends, and I get to feel good about having fun with my friends.
Mhm.
So it's not like one or the other, which is
Mhm.
perfect. This is a magic wand. This is like, so then you, as life brings you opportunities now, Vula, it's like on a Thursday night or whatever, it's just managing the way that you're reacting, or and a better word is responding. So choose to respond from that goal achieved rather than the habitual, like doing it and then beating yourself up about it.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
there's a difference there. There's a difference in how you operate and you're viewing it. And it might seem small, but here's the truth. It's these reactions or responses that we just keep tweaking for ourselves that make all the difference in the outcome. So the reason you're tweaking it is because of the outcome for your business. And so it's how you're feeling and so there's a shift there. And
Mhm.
so then the shift comes, and it will come in all areas, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So not only are you beating up yourself there, that will come in other ways. So as you start to shift that perception and respond now from a different energy, and the energy's in the feeling, it's how you feel about yourself, the business, the situation that changes. Therefore, it changes. And this is a Wayne Dyer quote: you change your perception and the thing changes. You don't have to go out in the physical world and change it. You change from the inside. It's powerful. So I invite you to take that on the next time you have an opportunity to cook a great dinner, and just see where it lands. So then you want to apply it and then notice the difference it makes. And so it's the application that's key. Does that resonate, Willa? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being on.
I put myself on mute again, but I was going to say, can you repeat that? I was typing it out. Can you repeat that Wayne quote?
Yeah, it's actually on page 5. Change the
Okay.
way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as it's not that like the thing changes first and then we see it differently. You change the way you look at things and the things change. It's huge. You can also, by the way, for those of you that run teams, change the way you see a certain team member and they change. This is powerful when in leadership. Change the way you see people and they actually change.
Can you see that Sonia has a question?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Actually, I totally enjoy this discussion, and it's fantastic thinking how things are coming out from us. But there is one thought, talking about creativity and what Vula mentioned or so. Sometimes I myself feel that I'm maybe surrounding with my friends and my colleagues who are thinking differently than me, or if I mention something I want to change in a business or so, they would try to help me, but that help was probably destructive to me. For example, even my husband or my friends, lots of them are engineers. And of course, they are in that area, and they are trying to push me to work into that industry, of course. And I have that experience and a successful career for a long time or so. However, I wanted a switch, something which really comes from me outside. but looks like that I'm constantly bombarding with that ideas which are really not really good for me. They are more distracted or so. So what would be the best in that case? Somehow dividing yourself from them, or how to marry all those things going on around you and in you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you start to create a vision of what you want for your life, it's super important in a goal, Sonia, especially if it's something outside that you've never done before. And even in a new industry, for example, it's super important that you put blinders on and you keep your goal to yourself. Because just like I said to Vula, with the people, like her husband, for example, or other people in their life will be in harmony with her paradigm. So the way that she's currently thinking, and that thinking, it will come from lack or limitation in some way. There'll be a limited thinking there. So they are in harmony with that. And that just means that our friends and family always are, because it's who we get along with. And it's not a problem at all. You don't have to isolate yourself from them. It's just that understanding that they will, if you start to tell them about your goal or dream, they will bring their own conditioning and their own programming, and they're meaning well, but they will be in a limitation piece, and they'll want to hold you back, just like your own paradigm is. And they don't mean to. It's not conscious.
Yeah.
It just is how people think. So instead, what Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich, he says to allow the desire to build, and like a fire within. Does this make sense, Sonia? So in the beginning, it will be like a mini fire. So have you ever created a campfire before? And you
Yeah.
got the small sticks, and it's a small fire. And then we've got to fan the fire. And then we add bigger logs, like bigger ideas, and we keep fanning it, right? You were paying attention to the fire. And then all of a sudden the fire is just going, like it's just beautiful and going. And that's what happens with desire. In the beginning, it's a small, weak fire. And it's weak. And so it can be easily squashed by other people's opinions. And so you want to just keep it private, fan it from within. And how you do that is continue to take your mind to that space, see it in your mind, build the image, build the image, build the image. And then when the desire is so strong within, and it has you jumping out of bed in the morning, taking action, and it's like almost like leading you now, that's when you're ready to share it.
Yeah.
And this is where mentorship becomes super important, because sharing it with a mentor, someone that believes before you even believe, can really help you pull it forward. And so you'll probably have people in your life that you could call on for that. And they may be friends too. It's just like understanding that how the mind works is super important, so that you can.
Thank
Does
you.
that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, Marnie says, I tend to keep her cards close. I'm just gonna, I tend to keep the cards close to my chest until the skeleton of the idea is fleshed out. Yeah. And being one, is not used to touting my own heart. It makes me awkward to start the conversation. This is also very normal, because just the way society is, as we share, and notice like what has us feel off. And then Marnie, I would lean into the resistance of sharing your ideas and tooting your own horn. You can do it so that you can inspire other people. There's a way that we can share to inspire, and share to ask for partnership and that kind of thing. But I understand that. So any place where there's resistance for us, that's a place to lean into the resistance, because that's where the growth is. And remember, the whole purpose of your goal is to have you grow. So when you're noticing the resistance, that's exactly where you want to go. Hi, Vula.
Well, a question to Sonia's point, if people are resistance, we don't really want to lean into them, do we?
No, it's just
so can you just clarify? Okay.
Yeah, it's your own inner resistance. So like how Marnie says that she doesn't really like, she feels awkward starting that conversation. So a win would be for Marnie to lean into that awkwardness and learn how to become comfortable in those situations, because that's growth. But we don't want to lean into people that resist us, because here's the thing, force negates. So if you're trying to convince other people or like, and they're resisting you, force negates. It actually creates a stronger resistance between people. So instead, what happens is you start to build the fire within for your desire. You make a decision that I'm doing this, no matter what I'm doing this. I have no idea how. This is crazy. This is not logical. I don't have the money for this. And all the ideas your mind says, I have no experience in this. You make a decision that you're doing it anyway, Sonia, and what you'll notice is that you'll attract everyone you need when you need it. When the student's ready, the teacher appears, there'll be a mentor, there'll be someone that helps you with this, even funding, like all the components come together once and only if you make a decision to move forward no matter what. And that decision's got to be yours. No one can make it for you. It's a committed decision. That help? Yeah, great. Thank you. Hi, Renee.
Hey, hi. Sorry, here, let me undo myself. So to that point, I think back in my career professionally or even personally, and many dear and good close friends from 20, 30 years ago would give me guidance and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, blah, 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 like Sonia's saying. There's many occasions where I am now, where I look back and I thought, why didn't I listen to that? Like, I could have been doing so much more. Or even in my personal life where I am counseling or discussing things with my son, who's an adult now. And, it's not that I'm telling him what to do, but I'm giving advice. And I see that he's on his own path and he has to do what he wants to do in his own time. But I see so much time wasted. Like, if you would just, jump in that bucket right there, you're going to accomplish. So I can see this for you because I know your potential, blah, blah, blah. That back then in my early days, my loved ones saw potential in me that I maybe didn't see in myself, but for career advice or whatever. So how do you pick what's right? Because I wish I had listened to them. I would have been probably a lot further along, and yes, I am doing what I love to do now and all of that, but maybe I could have been even more ahead of the game or whatever. So what do you kind of, how do you pick and choose?
That's a great question. So what's interesting, I said something to Sonia, like when she's ready, when she's made the decision, she'll start attracting the people and like the recommendations and advice that could help her because she has the desire.
When I just wasn't ready.
Well, it's just that like it came, you were probably asking for it in your mind and that's why it came. But if you didn't choose it, it wasn't for you at that time. It's just like, and so it's okay because when we make a decision to go right or we don't follow that recommendation, we still get the same learning just with different faces. It just looks a little different. But the lessons that we learn along life are the lessons we learn. So you could have taken the path and done that, but you're guessing that it would have moved you forward. But there's most likely very similar lessons on that path. And so it's important that like to really stay open. But here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to go out and share and ask people like neighbors or people that haven't achieved what you want to achieve, because they're giving you opinions. But if you're asking mentors or people in your life that have done and they have the results that you want, they're really good people because they've done it. They can give you that recommendation. And that's what mentorship is. And there's a difference. When it's opinions are free. That's about how much they're worth, really. So it's recognizing the difference there. Do I want the results of the person that's giving me the recommendations? If yes, awesome. If no, no. And then to be open about who comes on the path, like on your path. And then with your son, like recognizing that everyone's really on their own journey. And it's like when he's ready, he can make those decisions because, because we each have our own learning along. And as much as like as parents, we want to maybe help them skip lessons. It's like, it's not for us, right? Yeah, it's a great question.
Not our life.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that and received mentorship on that as well. So it's great. Okay, I want to be aware of the time here. So everyone has their goal. You've written about what you want. You can continue to add detail. So there's a few rules, if you will, about writing about what you want and creating the vision. The first is to make sure it's in present tense as much as possible, present tense, and using positive words. So writing about what you do want rather than what you don't want. And you start with you, and then you can write about your team and who you're working with and the clients and the deals that you're attracting and all of that. And you can take some time, as detailed as possible. So add numbers like, how much you're earning from this, exactly how many people are on your team, what type of people you have in your team, like really magic wand idea. So just understanding that once you get it on paper, then you can start attracting it. And then you can decide that that's what you really, really want. That's awesome. That's good. Sheena says, I feel I need to share my thoughts to make it more than a thought by putting it out there. Changes the thought into action and helps me turn it into reality. Yeah, so you can do that. Just do that with a mentor, or it's like a safe space, that someone that believes that it's possible for you. Because if they don't believe, they might say in words they believe, but if they don't, you'll feel it on an unconscious level. That's your intuition will pick it up. And it can, like at the beginning, the desire is weak. So you'll have doubts about it. And it will, though they could echo, or they could magnify the doubts in your mind. And if you see doubt, worry and doubt and fear, it's just like weeds in the unconscious mind. Like you have weeds in a garden, you need to pluck them out. And the seed that you want to give energy to is the seed of your goal. And as you plant your seed, you have to nourish it like you would if you're planting a carrot seed. You nourish it, you give it sun and water and love, and then it grows, and you have to weed out all the weeds around it. And then the weeds, the limiting beliefs and the doubts, they die for lack of energy, like you don't give them attention anymore. So that's just important, because the people around us could be watering weeds if we're not conscious. The next piece on your sheet, page 5, is a tool that I've used many times in the past couple of years as we manage what's happening outside, and it's called Harvesting the Good. This is the quote I shared with Vula. It says, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. So if we know that our results right now are a direct reflection of our current thinking, we can then change the way that we even perceive our current results to move us forward. So you can go back and review from page 2 what you wrote down. And like I did with Vula, we had her perceive what's happening on an evening when she's cooking dinner with her husband. She can start to see that, perceive it, see it in her mind as being a way to contribute to her career. And as she changes her viewpoint or her perception of the obstacle or the way things are, her feeling about it, we even felt it on this call, her feeling changes. And then the results start to shift just from that perception change. And so I invite you to take a look at an area that you wrote down and to change the way you perceive it. So there's 3 steps. And this comes from Michael Beckwith out of LA. And he says, the first is like, it is what it is. So it is what it is, Vula, like how you love doing your dinners with your husband. So it is what it is, like accept it, like not making it wrong is really important. It is what it is. And the truth is, it will either control you or you'll control it. So meaning like if you allow yourself to be beaten up, like if you beat yourself up because of your perception, the event or the situation's controlling you. Does everyone understand that? But if she changes her perception, she's now controlling it. And you can use these 3 steps for any situation. I'm just using Vula's example. It could be a problem that you're having with your staff. It could be something that's happened in the past. Any situation, these 3 steps work. Okay. So it is what it is. So you cannot change that the past. So let's learn to control it. So just accept it. Number 2 is harvest the good. Harvest the good, meaning there is good in every situation. Bula, go for it. I see your hand.
I was stuck on a little bit like the beginning. I was thinking of Sonia. Is it pronounced Sonia or Sonia? I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. But like there's
It's
a
Sonia.
part. Sonia?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's something else sort of when Sonia talked about her experience, I think we all can relate to having people in our lives who can create a negative response or a negative environment around our desires, our goals. Even thinking about what Renee said, that at the time, she didn't pick those paths. I'm wondering sometimes if when we're in these situations with people or our routines, our habits, we're motivated maybe by guilt. Mm-hmm. And that guilt is got to be like the biggest barrier that is so irrational, because I'm just thinking, like, if you thought about like friends who hold you back, that's a completely emotional response. Maybe like you're feeling shame or guilt for wanting to do something outside of that like beautiful, group of friends you have, whatever. And if you break it down and think about it, there's nothing that like really connects to the work that you're doing from that emotional experience. So it's actually quite wasteful to be there.
Yeah.
And maybe this step 1 is where you want us to get in with this. I don't know, but I was just like, as you were talking, I was thinking of Sonia, and I was thinking of Renee too. Like when she didn't pick those choices, maybe there was other things that were a barrier, and it's a bit of a shroud or a dark cloud that comes to play.
Well, what's interesting is like the habitual way that you react or respond to the people in your life. Remember, like we were all received a program, the program that's on the phone, and the program will attract even the situations with the friends, and whether or not we do or we don't take the advice, for example, but the thing to recognize is that there's nothing wrong here, because we do what we do because we're reacting, because we have no other choice, really, because we're unconscious 96 to 97% of the time. So there's a great book called Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, and he has done a ton of research around how the mind works and how we are literally habitual beings. So we got to give up like being hard on ourselves until like we understand how the mind works and we have the power to change it. So the way, if you look at like Sonia, the way that her friends are coming like that, if you look at your life, Sonia, you'll probably be able to see some habits there where this has happened different times throughout your life. Same thing with Renee. Like we'll be able to see similar situations, not same people necessarily, just different faces, but we continue to attract very similar things. Does that resonate? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you are right, because even we are maybe thinking that the situation would be different, but in fact we are still attracting the same thoughts and the same people or situation around us. Yeah, you are right, I believe.
Yeah, this is interesting. We see all this actually in relationships or even jobs. You know, someone will say like, you know, I've had enough of this person or this job, and so I'm going to like move over here, and I'm going to go and have a relationship over here. And I don't know about you, but I was attracting pretty much the same partner, just a different face over and over, like the very similar problems. And so it wasn't the person, it actually was me that got to shift from the inside. Yeah, that's great. Cybernetics. Oh, I spelled that wrong, Bula. You got the idea though. Cybernetics. Yeah. Cool. So these three steps can really help you to transform again your perception. So the first one is, it is what it is, especially if it's in the past, you can't change it. Number two is that you can now harvest the good. So in every situation that happens, no matter what it is, there is good from it. There are lessons that we get to learn. There is things that we can take from the situation that can help us move forward. So there's good. So you want to seek and find the good. So Vula, you found it quite quickly, like in the way that you're operating, like how you can use that situation to move you forward in your business. So we do that by changing our perception. And then step 3 is huge, is to forgive the rest. So forgive yourself for last week, the way you reacted. Forgive and forget. It means you don't get to continue to play these old tapes on the screen of your mind, the way that you were operating before. You can't change the past. So we get to forgive and forget, release. Forgive means to abandon, to let go of completely. And you get to start when you start today with this new way of thinking, this new way of being. And so I invite you to transform a situation using those 3 steps. It's powerful to find the gift, and then you hold on to the learning, you hold on to the gift, and then you continue to move forward with that. The next part on your sheet is the closing the gap, the knowing, doing gap. So I promise we get to this piece, this knowing, doing gap. We all know something, actions that we can be taking to do better, to move us closer to our goal. Would you agree? Or things not to do that, and I'm not using the word should because should implied shame, but instead I use the word could. Like we all know things that we could be doing day to day to move our business or our careers forward. Would you agree? Or maybe things that you need to stop doing that could help you. Identifying what you know to do but aren't doing is an important step. It's called your knowing, doing gap. And just identifying and making a list and closing the gap for yourself in action. You can also do this with your team, and it's extremely powerful. So what you're doing is you're putting all your cards on the table. Like, what is a list? What do I know to do on a weekly, weekly, monthly basis that I'm not doing? And if I started doing them, this would transform my business. Now, right now, you're not programmed to do them. So we're going to need to use repetition to continue to do them. So continue to repeat and see yourself doing these actions. And at the same time, be consciously aware and choose the new action, choose the new way of thinking. And closing the gap can make a massive difference in your business. Can you see that? Does anyone have any questions about that knowing, doing gap? Again, it will never serve you to be hard on yourself. So just be objective and then notice. And then you're like, for me, my list was long. Because that's how I am. Like I was also like Lula, very hard on myself. And so I would notice all the things that I wasn't doing. And so what you can do is just choose 1 or 2. And you can take a highlighter and highlight them. Choose 1 or 2 to start and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this one. So for Lula, it can be your dinner. You focus on your dinner and you focus on it and you consciously behave differently and think differently and feel differently for at least 21 days. Research shows more like 33 days straight. And just track. And if you slip up, guess what? The next day is a new day. And that's how you start to transform and go to the root cause and transform your habitual way of being. And then as that habit, as you notice now as you're making your dinners, you feel great. I use sticky notes everywhere to remind me. So as you transform it, then you will, after a month or so, you'll notice that you feel good about that. And then you can pick a new thing on your doing list and attack it. If you try to do too much, you'll never get it done. You'll just quit because it's overwhelming. It's not how we operate. It's great. On page 7 is thinking about how you can. So now that you have this goal and this new vision for your business, thinking about how it can come together. This is a brainstorming technique. And there's actually a really great story of some people that were just north of Toronto. It was when a tornado hit Barrie, like quite a few years ago, actually back in the 70s. And there were a group of people that they worked for a radio station. They wanted to help the community of Barrie. And they used this technique to brainstorm about how they could raise a large sum of money in a short period of time. And so what it is a very simple T that you write on your sheet, and you put a big X under the column of can't. It never serves you to think about why something can't happen. I'm going to say that again. It doesn't matter what area of your life. It never will serve you to talk or think about why it can't happen. Think how quick we do that in society. Oh, we can't do that because da 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 da. Oh, that won't happen because la 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 la. We're very quick to say why it can't happen. But what if every time we have that, or when we're brainstorming with our staff or our team, we use this technique and we say, next. So if someone brings up a reason why it can't happen, we just simply say next. And we next the idea so we can come back to how it can happen. And we continuously bring our mind back. How can it? How can it? How can it? Because the law of opposite states, if we can come up with a reason why it can't happen, there must be a way that it can. Can't is on one side and can is on this, and it just becomes a problem that we can solve. And every problem has a solution. We just need to raise our thinking to the level of that solution. And so the ideas are like a train. You know, a train has many cars and they follow each other. So if we have an idea of how something can't happen and we next it, we just say next, and we don't give it any energy, then that idea can lead to the next idea, or the next train, the next car in the train. And ideas are energy. So they're floating in the world. So it allows us, when we're brainstorming, either with ourselves one-on-one or with another person or with a team, we can come up with ideas on how it can happen. So that is described on page 7. Any questions or comments on that? I can actually, the story itself is.
I'm gonna add one comment before you
Yeah.
go into the story. I love the simplicity of that. Like, you know, like honestly, I'm 55 years old and I've never and I make lists all the time because I like to get shit done, but I've never made a list where there's like no room for the can't part and all about the can. And one of the things that, you know, when you're a constant to-do list person, you always do the opposite, you know, lie in bed at 3 a.m. and like, oh crap, I didn't get this done, that, the other, instead of saying, oh, I got this done, I got that done, I got that done, I'm awesome, I'm going to go back to sleep and get up tomorrow and do a whole bunch of other things. So this, it's the simplicity of this is really quite eloquent and beautiful, because it's about like the things that we are able and capable of doing. And that's what I want to celebrate in life. I want to celebrate what I can do. I don't want to waste huge amounts of time on the things that I can't do, because the stuff I can't do, I can learn how to do. That goes in the can category, not the can't. I
Totally.
really like it.
Yeah, it's so simple. I just uploaded the story. This comes from Bob Proctor's book, You Were Born Rich. So you can download that for yourself and read it. This, if you adopt this strategy, Vula, you'll save so much time in your business, because we are habitual in thinking about how we can't do it. But like I said, it never serves you. So now what happens is you're on the opportunity, the solution side of the coin, and everything, like if in order to have an up, we have to have down. So a solution is always there. So if you don't know how to do it, you can attract someone that can teach you how to do it, or you can hire someone, right? So then we start, but what happens is we get wrapped up in how we can't, and then that takes so much time and energy. And it is a way that our unconscious mind keeps us into safety, because it's a distraction. So we get distracted thinking about how it can't happen, rather than only thinking about how they can. So it becomes quite effective and fun in a team atmosphere as well, Vula. Can you see that? Because, if everyone knows the rules of the game, and then, just naturally, habitually, I'm like, oh gosh, you can't do that because like last week this happened. And then my colleague says, next. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. Thank you for the reminder. Next. And now we're just nexting our ideas. It's brilliant.
It's a great, I think I've done marketing exercises that are really similar. But if you do put your mind, like when you're promoting your business, if you do put your mind to that place of like, what's the most magical way I could push this idea forward, you also end up discovering that that's what people really want. Like they want to be drawn into that magic. So, I remember launching, I was on a team that launched the Air Miles program. Well, Air Miles bought Green Rewards, and I was on the team that launched the Green Rewards, and it was all about rewarding people for sustainable shopping practices. And it was huge. Like the idea was like so big, and we did a brainstorm exercise like this, and we went for what was impossible and unreachable and unachievable ish. And then once we created that big, beautiful picture, we just sat down in little groups and figured out, okay, here's the list of things we can do to get there. And we launched it. Air Miles bought us, and it became like that wonderful, unique first thing on the planet that it was. So I'm excited. I'm motivated by this.
That's so cool. And here's the truth, and nothing is impossible, right? So it's just figuring out how to solve the problem. And it's the thinking that we get to do. And so when we brainstorm or mastermind with like-minded people, what happens, it's like and we're all going for the same goal. It's like our minds hook together like batteries, and they become more powerful. And we link ourselves up to ideas that are, even beyond what we thought were possible. It's like, where did that idea even come from? That's the power of a mastermind, when you get together with another person. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich wrote a whole chapter on masterminding, and he talks about energetically why it's so powerful. And there's some rules as to how you mastermind, and this is a good way to do it. Thank you. So there's always a solution. There's always a way. Like if your goal, whatever the goal is for your business, for your team, involve your team and use a strategy. Allow them to see the vision, and it's your responsibility to paint the vision and to invite them to come along and be part of that vision. So by asking them what they see for themselves, for those of you that have a team, it's super important, so that you're leveraging their skills and abilities and experience, and invite them in. When you describe as a leader as your vision for the company, they will want to get involved. They'll want to find their space and bring their spice to your vision. The last thing I'll leave you with as we wrap is a powerful article called Decision. And I included this because most of us are not taught how to make decisions quickly. most people will make decisions kind of like what we were talking about by asking the opinions of others. And it's super important as you create your vision for yourself and for this goal that you make a committed decision that you're willing to do what it takes. And it doesn't matter if others buy into that vision or not. It just matters what you think of yourself and what you think of your goal. It doesn't matter what others think. And it's power. Once you make that decision, people will feel it that you're committed. And those that resonate with that decision will come and join you and help you and mastermind with you, like we were just talking about. It's a powerful skill that needs to be learned, how to make a decision. And we make a decision based on desire, quickly change our mind at hardly ever. And we know, I personally have a view that every decision I make, I know it's the right one because I've made it. And so there we go. That, yeah, okay, the workbook. That's a good call, Bula. I'll get the link for the workbook. If you came on a little bit later, it's in earlier in the chat. You won't be able to see it. There you go. So there's the workbook again. So you'll find that in the workbook. And it was also emailed to you this morning by Arlene. And then if this is resonating with you, I'll invite you to book a call with our team. So what I've done here today is I've got you set up for creating a goal, creating the vision for yourself, identifying the things that are going to stop you, your habitual ways of being. That root cause of the problem, like I was saying with Bula, is your unconscious mind. So understanding the way that you're currently thinking and then receiving the tools to transform it are critical. So we offer something in our business called a strategy session. It's just a really simple, there's 2 gifts for you. It's just a really simple call. My team are trained to actually ask you about your goal, and they're trained to hear and feel intuitively if you believe it or not on a vibrational level. And they'll ask you questions to move you through it. And it takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. And then they can help you and provide, like sometimes we recommend books, or if it seems like it's a good fit, we have programs that can help you. So there's that. And then the last thing is on my website, I have a link for a visualization. I'll mail this out to you. We didn't do this today, and I invite you to visualize your goal achieved now that you have clarity on it. And this is a guided visualization that I've done. It's a little gift for you. You can just download it from my website. I want to say thank you for being here, Arlene. I'm open to your feedback, everybody, and I look forward to hearing from you. Arlene, I'll pass it over.
Thank you. Danielle, that was amazing. I got so much from it. I actually took quotes that you were saying while you were speaking. And I love this. I don't know if you saw this, Laura. What a great way to start a morning with intentional goal setting and masterminding its desirable future. My favorite part of this session was knowing when to let go of your ideas and saying no. So I really appreciate that, because that's something I have a very difficult time with. And Will, I love the way that you articulated that as well in terms of picking and choosing. What was it you said? Move on, just say goodbye. So I love that. Danielle, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and of course next week as well. Before you leave, again, I encourage you to put any of your feedback into the chat, because we take that for future reference. And so it's a great way to look at what people thought of the session and how we can improve in the future. And then I encourage you to come back at 12 o'clock when we have Rebecca McKenzie doing Meet Your Mentor sessions. And then of course at 2 o'clock this afternoon, we've got our industry sessions. So I will see you later today. Thank you so much, and goodbye, everyone.